Hey, help support the show by becoming a member on Patreon or YouTube. This is the best way to help me as a creator, and so thank you and go Cavs.
Do you have like a guy or a thing a guy needs to do that you're like staring at for next year to kind of make you believe that something else is coming, that an evolution for that player is there? I think like Mitchell's kind of established.
He is
like
who he
is.
is.
He's very damn good, and
Yeah.
he's kind of out of it to me in this conversation.
It has
It's
to
got to be Evan Mobley, right?
Yeah. Well, let me give my reason, because I think it goes well with what I was thinking before about the problem solving, like late in games. And I want to go back to Game 2 against the Heat. The Cavs were up by 20-ish against Miami, and then did they come back and I think they made it a 2-point game. I don't know if Miami ever took
Which
a
game?
lead.
Game 2?
Yeah, the home game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think they took the lead, but they came back and it was like a 2-point game.
It was a 2-point game, according to Tony. It was a 2-point game, and Donovan Mitchell hit like a bunch of threes off of like just trying to get the mismatch, and then hit a bunch of off the dribble threes. And then Miami missed just a bunch of like pretty open corner threes because they didn't really have the guys to get him over the hump because like Miami sucked.
Jovic wasn't ready for the moment.
Jovic wasn't ready for the moment on either end, which is kind of surprising when you think about it. But and I think that like problem solving has just kind of been like, well, when things get tough, we're all just going to stare at Donovan Mitchell, and like as good as Donovan Mitchell is, and I think that I think I'm probably one of the most pro Donovan Mitchell Cavs voices. As good as he is, he's only 6'2", where like if you're 6'8", you can be the answer to everything and you can just go inside and enforce your will. Whereas like when you're 6'2", there's a limit to that, and we constantly keep bumping up against that limit because he's always, hampered by some type of injury from consistently just going to the basket at will. And like you just can't do that for 48 minutes. And that's where it has to be Evan Mobley has to be the problem solver. You need a system or a person to just constantly like put into those situations and know that they are going to get you over the hump. And like that has to be Evan Mobley. You're the 7-foot guy. You're the guy who's developed the outside shot. You're the guy who's developed their handle. This is why you develop those things, so that late in games you can just say, hey, I'm going to take over. And during the regular season, he never did. And that's what I want. Like, if there's one thing to see in the regular season next year, it's can Evan Mobley problem solve against like a solid team in a November game, in a February game? Like, can he consistently do that? And that is probably the only thing that's going to make me believe in this group next year.
Yeah.
Chris has his thinking face on.
It is like, I also just like think the roster is due to like be contracted at the same time. Like that's also the thing that I can't really like shake since the season's ended. That I wonder if it's like, do you turn Jarrett Allen into something else and find like a $6 million like center to like do some of that stuff and you figure it out, or like do you draft one in the second round, or like you take 2 second-round picks by like do something to like get a big. And I think this is also why people are like, I think this is like the way that like modern sports media sort of works. I think this is why we've gotten to the trade Evan Mobley for Giannis like discourse for last week. Like I think that's why this exists. If I was gonna like psychoanalyze it, is I think they're saying the Cavs roster needs to shake up, but the way to convey that take in 2025 is to say trade Evan Mobley for Giannis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like the most drastic thing they could do, and I don't even want to get derailed talking about that specific trade idea. I know it's been floated out there. This is the first time I think we've recorded and been able to talk about it. I do just want to say, listen, if the Cavs got Giannis, you're not going to find me complaining. I also just think that at this point, like it hasn't really worked out very well. The teams that have traded their young stars for like going all in on the. Calling Giannis aging is maybe overselling it a bit, but like that's
Giannis is younger than us, Tony.
I know. Well, 30, he's an NBA player.
He is 30 years old, and he's a damn freak. And you're like, it might not be.
Take him. I would take him in a heartbeat, but I'm not. The point that I'm getting to, guys. Let me cook. Let me cook here. Let me cook, guys. Bear with me here.
Tony, how old are you? Tony, wait, how old are you?
I'm a very young 26. I'm
Okay, when
26 years young.
when you turn 30, I'm gonna shoot you a text and be like, "How's aging going?"
It's different
I'll
when
be-
you're an NBA player, and it's
No,
different
for
when you
sure.
don't have a jump shot.
Well,
All right,
when
like
you're-
it's just a little different.
Yo.
With
Yeah,
that
but
being said,
he's also
let me cook. Let me
Okay.
cook. Let me get to the
Alright.
end of my. All right, you
Alright.
caught me in the middle of my point. The thing is, I may have lost my point. The thing is, when you get to it, like, I don't think trading Evan Mobley is the path forward here. I just don't think that that's the path. I don't think that they're losing because Evan Mobley. I don't think that potentially kneecapping your future by trading your 23-year-old star for, a player who, even if we're lucky, Evan Mobley will probably never be anywhere near the player Giannis is. And that's just a credit to Giannis. Again, if the Cavs got Giannis, you're not going to find me complaining. But I just think that we're focusing on the wrong solutions. And it's kind of what Chris was saying, where it's like, people feel that there's something wrong with the team, something needs to be shaken up. And I do think the Mobley for Giannis is like the most drastic overreaction of just like, we really need to shake it up. I don't know if you need to shake it up to that degree, because to me, that's just that's a huge gamble on someone who's been injured for like 4 of the last 5 postseasons. He hasn't even been able to play. Maybe he ends up healthy. And listen, you probably maximize your chance of winning a chip in the next 2 years if you have Giannis, maybe the next 3-4. But with Evan Mobley, something that I've been saying is you could have 10 years. You could have 2 separate cracks at building a championship team around Evan Mobley. And so that's just my brief opinion on the Mobley Giannis stuff. Is I would lean towards the safe stability route. But again, if you got Giannis on the Cavs, you're not going to catch me being upset about it.
So what I would say is that you talked about like, well, Mobley's not what was your words? Like, not the reason they lost or something like that? Or
Yeah.
So
I don't think the Cavs' issues right now are Evan Mobley. I don't think trading Evan Mobley is solving the Cavs' issues right now. I still think if you're looking at Jarrett Allen or Darius Garland in a certain way, they're still going to be the same players, whether it's Giannis or Evan Mobley there. Giannis can patch up a lot of those issues, but really the main point that I was trying to get to is that I just feel like you're needlessly taking a risk where there are more realistic paths towards the Cavs being a title contender. I don't even think it's possible to trade for Giannis. Really, I know there's ways you can make it work, but it's not going to happen. I don't expect it to happen. Is the main point that I'm trying to make. I don't want to get too bogged down into.
I think too, the thing I would say is like, I think this is one of the more, this is like being a team in the Cavs position. I think like you could really just make the case if you were gonna like have like if Kobe Allen goes to his like for the rest of the front office, like, hey, we're all gonna have a meeting, we're gonna discuss all of our options for the summer, big picture, like structural plans. You could like, there's someone in that room that can make a really strong case. It's like, hey, you know what? We actually like, they know more about the injuries than we do. They could say all this and lay that all and say, let's just like trust the process, like shed a little salary, like maybe Okoro or Wade or someone gets dumped, keep Merrill, keep Jerome. Hope Tyson's ready for more minutes, or Travers or someone else is ready. Users like do something and just run it back.
Yeah.
There's like a reasonable case to make that you should do that, particularly in this cap environment. Is it the satisfactory answer? No. Would I also probably try to like flip Jarrett Allen for something? Yes, because I think this feels due for some kind of evolution and to just like embrace the maximum version of what Evan Mobley is in the NBA in 2025. But there's also a case just to be like, run it back.
That's where I lean, just very quickly, and I'll let you cook, Jackson. I lean towards running it back, but I'm also like, when you talk about Jarrett Allen trades, I'll listen to him. When you say like, all right, let's plan what we're doing in the offseason, trading Evan Mobley is like the last thing. It's like, I trade Donovan Mitchell before I trade Evan Mobley, probably, just to round off my thoughts on that.
And this sort of, anything the Cavs do, it only works if Evan Mobley becomes the guy. Like, if they run it back, that only works because Evan Mobley becomes the guy. Like, if they trade Jarrett Allen, they get a smaller team, they try to go all in on offense or some other, like, stylistic thing, that only works if Evan Mobley becomes the guy, too. And that's what, like, I sort of keep bumping into, is that, like, you talked about, well, they don't have a style. Well, they don't. That's true. So they need somebody to kind of paper over all of their problems. And we kind of just went through, well, Donovan Mitchell can't really do that because he's 6'2". So it's like, if they are going to do that, where they have kind of like this ultimate problem solver that teams can't really figure out, that has to be Evan Mobley. So it's like it's all going to just keep coming back to Evan Mobley, and it's like, well, this team. I wouldn't say Evan Mobley has shown to be a tough player yet, or like a mentally tough player yet, and I don't want to overstate my point with this, because I do think that his personality of being a more quiet guy, people don't.
You're attacking him for being an introvert.
Well, no, because I think that people can conflate
against
that.
introverts right now.
I think people can conflate that with not being competitive, and I think that we've seen that Evan Mobley is super competitive, and that he's willing to identify problems and like really work at them really hard. So and somebody who is really competitive, that's usually who you get. I'm going to throw a stray at Scotty Barnes here, who doesn't seem like a competitive guy. Where everyone identified, hey, X, Y, and Z are problems, and he said, "Cool, I'm getting my money anyways."
Well, and generationally, I do think like the younger, it just is like a thing where like they do present themselves differently, like like in a way that like I don't know if we exactly know what like a 22-year-old hyper competitive guy, unless he's Anthony Edwards, who's a '90s throwback. Like they don't look, it looks differently in a way. I don't think we figured out how to compute that yet.
Yeah. Good point. So it's like
social scientist Chris has logged onto the chat.
I think that Evan Mobley is that guy, and like, listen, I don't think we can call LeBron soft now, but when LeBron was 23, we were calling LeBron soft.
Yeah,
we weren't calling LeBron soft, but like the people in our spaces, were calling LeBron.
Remember,
soft.
Like, I mean, to me, like the it was like the pass to Daniel Marshall in the corner when he missed the Daniel Marshall three, and it's like LeBron should have shot it, and it was like that was a way of calling this always just spins around any player that's worth it.
And I think where those came from is that when you pass out of that shot, you're not taking ownership of the moment in the way that you do if you take that shot.
Yeah,
and I think we've grown as a basketball watching community and have established that, well, LeBron actually passing that out was a much better shot because there was 19 guys in the paint. And that's a high percentage shot because Daniel Marshall's there, just hit that shot, etc. But where it comes to Evan Mobley is Evan Mobley doesn't have the ball in his hand in those situations, and he's not actively problem solving. He has like a 17% usage rate.
I have the stat actually. I have it. So
go for it.
Mobley in the regular season, his usage rate was 22%. That was the 84th percentile for his position. In the playoffs, it was 16%. That was the 41st percentile. So it completely dropped off a cliff. The usage rate dipped drastically.
So like that's where that needs to pick up dramatically. He needs to be in the 90th plus
in the playoffs.
It should have increased in the regular season. Like next regular season, we need to be 90th, 95th percentile for a forward. Like everything needs to run through him, especially later in games. And he's somebody who consistently shows that if you identify a problem with his game, he's going to correct it. So what do you need to do to kind of get him motivated on that? Is you need to put him in problems where he fails. Like the Cavs need to lose a game because they said, Evan Mobley, you go in, like they need to lose like a November game where it's like, hey, Evan Mobley, you have the last shot. You have to run this last possession. This isn't going to go through Donovan Mitchell. This isn't going to go through Darius Garland. This is going to go through you. You problem solve this. And that's where they need to be in a position where they're ready to put Mobley in that. And as much as Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Kenny Atkinson says, oh, this team's only going as much as Evan Mobley, we need to get Evan Mobley involved. It's like, hey, well then like actually do that. Do the Ty Lue thing where you're like, hey, we know that we're going to have to do X, Y, and Z in the playoffs. So we're just going to do it now, even if it hinders, us in the moment.
Yeah. I think also like we're going to learn. I wonder like when they look at the roster, like where they think like there are holes, like what they think is like the right way to build. Because I think it's a tricky challenge to build this summer. But I think with how much movement seems to be on the horizon, is there an opportunity to like slip in and get someone you like that you couldn't have otherwise got because they're like a salary needs to get moved or something. I don't know. Like I'm really curious to like how you balance like the thread of some of like patching things together, and then next year like taking all of this and then like turning it into what you're saying. It's like, okay, like no one's going to give a damn if we win 70 regular season games next year if we're going to flame it in the playoffs again. Let's try to win like 55 games, be really healthy, and like work on stuff meticulously the whole year. And like that's the plan. Like that to me seems like the reasonable way to go. You're at a point where like winning, they need to like win something, I think for anyone to take them seriously. Donovan has been in this like loop of like he needs to get out of the second round like since he's been in Utah now, and it's like I think for him it's probably driving him mad more than anyone else in that lock, like more than Kobe, more than anyone else. I'm sure he's like, I like Jalen Brunson's making a conference finals again, and like my Halliburton's, and it's like I just want to like he's like I know I am as good as those guys, like we're in the same class. He probably thinks he's better. Like it's probably driving, honestly, yeah, and he does. But it's like there's probably driving him mad that he's like consistently stuck in the second round loop.
And that kind of gets to the team build. Is that everybody on the Pacers is there because they make Halliburton better. Everybody on the Knicks is there because they make Jalen Brunson's life just a little bit easier. Everybody on the Cavs is there because they're there. You know, like Jarrett Allen was brought in not with the idea of making Mobley better or making, Donovan Mitchell better. He was there because it was a very bad trade by the Houston Rockets. Like that's why he's there.
He's there to build a 3-big lineup with him, Drummond, and Thon Maker.
Right. So like
they were ahead of their time.
So like when you look at like how these core pieces got together,
Thon Maker.
Like when you look at how these core pieces got together, they weren't kind of brought in with the other person in mind. So like, is this team going to be built around Evan Mobley? What does Evan Mobley need as a star to kind of be the best version of himself? Like, I don't know if we can answer that question.
Well, what to you are the skills of the guys that connect Mitchell and Mobley the most effectively? Like, what are the skills?
I don't know. Like that's.
Are we talking like supporting cast players?
Yeah, I'm talking
you got to maximize the spacing, which I think they've done their best at doing.
Which has done that with anybody, every team.
Well, yeah.
I will say I do think we're getting to a point where like a little bit of bully ball and a little bit of mid range, like understanding that you can put teams in a blender and get a good mid range shot, and that it's not just like pull up. Like junk mid range of back in the day. I think we are in a place where like that's kind of getting back in vogue a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I think we're gonna course correct off of like the maximalist Celtics stuff a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree.
As Tyrese Halliburton showed by running out to the 3-point line and keeping his foot on the line for the game winner.
That was a little different.
But
there's some devil magic going on in Indiana. All right,
Chris,
they can do nothing wrong.
They need Halliburton's dad back at game 2. I need him at game 2.
We do not need that.
Yes, we do.
No,
this
we
thing,
don't.
this is what they do. This is professional wrestling because everything is
right.
Professional
This is
wrestling.
professional wrestling, but I think that.
Oh God, is that Tyrese Halliburton's dad's music and it's him and McAfee walking down? I need it. The guys that come to mind, but the guys that come to mind, it's like a Mikal Bridges type. It's like a Derek White type.
Hypothetical Dean Wade, who doesn't exist.
Honestly,
first half of the season, Dean Wade.
Yeah,
Prime Kevin
Max
Love.
Strus isn't a bad fit. I think Max Strus was a great pickup for the Cavs. I think that's continuing to be one of their best pickups.
Strus and Hunter are like I think actually really ideal fits. Let me ask you. Can I ask you? Here's a thing I'm just thinking about. Run it all back, but make one change. What if you start Hunter and Strus and you bring Allen off the bench?
I actually I didn't push for that, but after game 1 Indiana, I said this might be a series where you have to go one big, Hunter's playing the 4. And you just and you have Max Strus start at the 3. Like you might just have to go one big more often, and they kind of for various reasons weren't able to. Like Mobley and Hunter both were dealing with injuries, and just nothing was effective. But I do think, regardless of what they do, Hunter's got to play more minutes next to Mobley next season. Hunter has to be a starter probably.
Well, this is the problem. This is where the Jarrett Allen trade stuff really comes from. Is that in a salary cap sport, you can't pay somebody $20 million and then $30 million on his next deal when that kicks in to be a backup player, to not close games. Like that's a lot of money for a starter. That's
100%
above average starter money, which is sort of appropriate because Jarrett Allen is very good, and you wouldn't know that by listening to me talk.
I think we use very good too eagerly. Can I say that?
He's good. That's fine.
He's a good player. We don't need. There's like only a couple very good players.
Thank you, Chris.
He's like a
I
star
constantly
role
overrate
player.
everybody.
He's like a star role player to me at this point.
Yeah,
Like
no,
I know he's been an all-star. He is a role player on this team.
so
Like and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but like he is clearly the fourth, maybe even the fifth most important player, but he's capable of playing at a star level. So it's a really weird, like as Jackson I think was saying right there, and I agree with you too, Chris. It's like for his contract, he's a steal. He's a great player to have on that contract. In the context of the Cavs, it gets a little messy where you're like, does he close every lineup? And I don't think that's necessarily like a death sentence for his fit. Like, I think, yeah, maybe there's scenarios where you close double big. Maybe there's scenarios where you don't. The problem is, and not to, I do want to focus mostly on Evan Mobley, but the problem with Jarrett Allen, and this is what I said, that people might think that this is me excusing his performance. I think it's even being critical of it more so. Jarrett Allen is just not the caliber of player, and it's also not his style to keep the ship afloat when everything around him is flooding, right? No. Like games 4 and 5 against Indiana, everything's going wrong. People are looking like, where's Jarrett Allen? Well, Jarrett Allen's there when he can plug the gaps and fill in with everyone else doing their job. When it's just Jarrett Allen, he's just not that caliber player. It's not his style. It's not his play style to take over a game in that way. There needs to be some foundation of things going right for Allen to make a good contest of the rim because the defense is on a string and they're not just giving guys free lanes into the paint or on offense. Like some of it, yeah, he needs to set better screens, but like if shots are going in or if Garland and Mitchell have the same bounce and pep in their step, maybe he's able to roll to the rim a little harder and there's more pressure on the help defender where he can fill in there. And so it's not excusing Jarrett Allen at all. Again, like I think that's actually being critical and realistic as he's just not that caliber of player. And if that's where you think you got to move off of him, then I understand where you're coming from. I don't think it's as simple as like, well, Jarrett Allen is just, he doesn't play through injuries or he's too soft or whatever. He'll never be able to, like, I mean, Jarrett Allen in another context could be, well, he could be more physical. I agree. But Jarrett Allen in another context is perfectly fine as your starting center.
Yeah, like, I mean, I wonder if you're Kobe Altman, and I think New Orleans says no to this first, but this is just like the first one that come to mind as I pulled the trade machine. If you call and we're like, hey, Jarrett Allen, or like who's like, I need picks to do that or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you call and you're like, can we do Herb Jones and Missy for Jarrett Allen? Like you do a
take a hard look at that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't act the Cavs are like over money a little bit based on I actually didn't add Jarrett Allen in, so this would work. But like you could do that, and I think if you're the Cavs, you like think about you get a cost controlled young center. You have Herb Jones for 2 years, so you're kind of in a situation where like his contract like DeAndre Hunter's could be a little bit tricky. You probably are trying to dump like someone else somewhere else and move some money around. But I think what you're thinking is really like, can you turn that guy into, can you like reset the clock a little bit at center, maybe find like a salary reason way to like embrace Mobley as a 5 and then like cost control the other part of the position. And then you get another wing where it's like you just go in on that in the Kenny Atkinson era. Cause I think that's what Kenny would probably prefer if we were to guess.
Like you just need, everybody needs to be there to make Evan Mobley better or to make the Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell pairing better. And Jarrett Allen, I think he's sort of outlived his usefulness in that particular role just because we've seen Evan Mobley make those progressions. And like, there's also part of it too, where I think that Jarrett Allen and Evan are a little better when they have to be like, oh, I have to be the main rebounder in this group. I have to be the main rim protector in this group, as opposed to when they can just kind of like pass that off to somebody else. So I do think that that's also part of what we see from, when you like your Jarrett Allen sinking ship analogy. It's sort of like he's like, well, Evan's here to kind of help out with the sinking ship. And I think that you kind of, if you could get away from that, I think you would be better off in like the long run. Even if you aren't, I don't think you're going to be, I do want to emphasize this. I don't think you're going to be a better regular season team without Jarrett Allen in mostly any context, because I think the overlapping skills super helps in a regular season where you can constantly roll out 48 minutes of really good center play. You have somebody when Evan Mobley goes down, you don't have a big hole at center. Like these things are, the overlapping skills is like a superpower in the regular season, but that's overlapping skills mean nothing in the playoffs where not nothing, but they don't mean nearly as much.
Well, and I will say, I want to be in a position if I'm the Cavs where Evan Mobley is the one sinking the ships.
Yeah,
exactly. I want him being the guy that is like putting holes in the hull of the other team on a night-to-night basis. Whereas like now, like that happens like like it happens every so often, but probably not as often as you would like.
Yeah.
And
I
frankly, this year it was like, at least from like my perspective, and you guys tell me if this is wrong. I felt like it was more of like the team doing that more than like individual guys doing that. It wasn't like Donovan. Like it was the late in the year. Donovan Mitchell didn't even score 40 points, which was a good thing. And I think you probably want a version of that going forward for him. But I also kind of want more moments where like maybe a little more like individual ruthlessness that isn't like a Ty Jerome ruthlessness.
Yeah, I got 2 points on that I think are both relevant to what you said and what Jackson was saying. One, to tie a ribbon on the Jarrett Allen stuff. If you have more takes, feel free. But to clarify my stance in the Jarrett Allen thing, I'll say this. I'm leaning towards it makes more sense just to keep Allen because I'm not sure what the market will look like. I think there's trades that, like the one Chris mentioned, that would actually make me take a good hard look and really consider it. Then there's other trades that I see float on Cavs Twitter. I'm like, yeah, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So I'm leaning towards keeping Allen just because I think it's easier to do that and finding the right trades, more of a risk, and it might not even be possible. But to what Jackson's saying, and what I think is actually because before I was way more firm in my stance on this. Now I'm starting to be more 50-50. And it's because of one big thing, tying it back to Evan Mobley. The Cavs, for the first time last year, actually felt like, whoa, when Evan Mobley's at center, they actually get better. For the first time, it's like, well, we give Evan Mobley more usage, and he's actually responding and looking even better when he's the main guy out there. The fact that Evan Mobley looks like he's ready to take that leap if you just play through him, that's what encourages me to start opening up the floodgates and find a way to get Mobley more involved because he has always been the key, right? Like, even though, like, listen, Mobley's timeline has probably been a bit slower than you would have hoped when you made the Mitchell trade. Like, it's still a reasonable developmental path, right? Like 23 defensive player of the year, 2 all defensive teams, all-star appearance. It's going to be all NBA. It's not like he's not progressing, but it didn't progress as fast as the Donovan Mitchell trade sped things up originally, right? Like, you would have hoped second round conference finals would have already been in your bag by now. That hasn't happened, but I don't think the gap is wide enough to like panic. I do think Mobley's timeline can still align with Mitchell's. There's just a few more things that he needs to improve at, right? And we've seen growth in the important areas this year. 3-point shooter took a huge leap. Still not an elite 3-point shooter, but compared to where he was last year,
he's a really good 3-point shooter.
He's a very solid 3-point shooter now.
I feel like it's almost easy to underrate how good of a 3-point shooter is, and like
you feel comfortable.
The leap that he took and his ability to get off his shot, like with people closing out, and how high, he's a big guy. So like I think that is underrated. Like guys have to come out and guard him on the perimeter, and they do legitimately close out to him now, which is literally all you wanted.
Yeah.
Like guys don't even close out to like you have to be such a good center shooting threes for guys to close out to you. And that happened in one season.
If he's your center, all of a sudden you're playing 5-out basketball, which is something the Cavs haven't done. When he's your power forward, that's helpful. But when he's your center and teams have to close out like that, like you said, not many centers actually draw a closeout.
Well,
all of that is just go ahead.
It helps his passing too, because like if he is spaced out and then like you have more room for him to like make reads into, or if he takes 2 dribbles and kicks it to like a wide open guy in the corner when they panic and close on the big who's going to dunk, it just like adds more utility that makes Mobley special. Like, and it lets him be weird. And like he is capable of being like, and I think weird is good. That's what I sort of mean like as a positive thing. It's like the really best players are so weird and like how they do stuff. It's like that, maybe that's how Mobley gets to a place where he feels like he gets to that category.
Yeah.
He's somebody who I would kind of push back a little bit on your stance about how Mobley's progression. I think he progresses. He's progressed at a pretty good rate, but I think the way that Mobley progresses is that he progresses in like he doesn't showcase a skill unless he's like fully comfortable doing it on like an NBA court. Like he was never like an Alex Sarr who's like the 3-point shot's not ready. I'm going to shoot 9 a game until it is ready. Yeah. Like he's not somebody who progresses like that, and you have to throw him in those moments. So that's where it's like throw him in a moment where he fails because he hasn't. The Cavs, right or wrong, they haven't thrown him into moments where they kind of force him to pass or fail. I think the only time I can really point to is kind of like in the short roll where the Knicks kind of forced him into that to that little stretch there in 2023 playoffs. But like that's where I think that it's on the organization, and it's kind of also on him too. So like anything that you can do to give him more ownership of the results. That's literally what Chris has been saying. So I'm not saying anything original, so I'll just stop.
It's a good point though, and it's like again, like the improvements that he made this year, they all translated to the playoffs. Like he was still hitting threes, he was still creating shots for himself when he had the ball. The question is, how do we push him even more into the spotlight? Right? It's like he's climbed like the highest ladder at the swimming pool. He's like at the edge of the highest diving board, but he's just like right on the edge of it. It's like, how do you get him to actually make the jump now and be the definitive best player on the Cavs? How do you get him to do that? And like Jackson said, you've been pushing this, and I agree with you. Mobley's the only one at the end of the day who can make that happen. He needs to be assertive and aggressive and demanding the ball and getting his shots. Next season, I want to see whatever happens next season. I want it to ride or die in Mobley's hands. I need him to go out swinging. I need to see games where he's unloading the clip. Like I want to see Evan Mobley have 25 shot attempts in a game the Cavs lost. I want to see Evan Mobley have like 42 points in a game where the Cavs just barely couldn't get over the hump. Like we've seen Mitchell do that a bunch of times, and it's great. Mitchell's an awesome player. We almost never see Evan Mobley decide games. I need to see games where the Cavs either Evan Mobley dominates the game offensively or we lose trying, because right now it feels like we haven't tried for that to happen really ever. There's like moments here and there, but it needs to be a consistent theme of like, well, can Evan Mobley get us to the finish line? I guess we're going to find out, because right now it hasn't even been up to him. And if he's the key to all of this, at some point it does need to end up going onto his shoulders.
25 shots in a game from Evan Mobley would be fascinating to watch.
I don't even know how many times it's happened. Has that ever even happened? I'm not sure. Has he ever even taken 25 shots in a game?
Probably not. Can't imagine. Because like the games where he scores a bunch, he's usually hitting threes. Like the Charlotte game.
Yeah.
Probably the one he's taken the most, but 25.
He took 27 shots in 2023. That's the most he's ever taken. 22, 22, 23, and then a 27 attempts. I don't know what game this was.
What was that? Was that the Nuggets game?
I'm trying to find it.
That might be, because there was a game against Jokic, or there was a game against Jokic where he took a bunch of shots and it was pretty sick. He also had a game we did that against the Bucks too. Anyways, moral of the story is he needs to do that.
It was the Bucks.
Okay, I had two guesses. One of them was
Jackson
right,
cooked. Yeah, he was 19 of 27. He had 38 points, and the Cavs won this game by 12. So let me see. No Donovan Mitchell in this game. Ricky Rubio did play. Lamar Stevens played, but no Donovan Mitchell.
Lamar Stevens played.
Shout out Lamar Stevens.
Who do we need
plus
to shout
8.
out Lamar Stevens?
0 points, 16 minutes, plus 8.
Do you need to shout out somebody who got so much more playing time than he ever deserved?
Yeah, he's the reason we have the Junkyard Pod. Shout out Lamar Stevens.
Hey, good guy. Shout out Penn State.
He is a good guy. But one thing I did want to say about the toughness real quick, because you just brought up Lamar Stevens. Like, JB Bickerstaff tried so hard to make this team tough. Like, that's literally the only thing he tried to do. He even played Lamar Stevens a bunch of minutes just to make them tougher. He gave out a fake necklace to everybody who was kind of tough in a game just to try to make them tougher. He talked about being the toughest team, even though it wasn't true. So
I was back. Sorry, you're mid sentence. I lost you. I don't know if it was just me.
Well, you just cut out the whole thing.
No, I think we got the gist of it. And
the gist.
To that point, I 100% agree here. The Cavs next season, this goes for everyone, not just Mobley, everyone on the roster. I got to see hit the weight room. And if it hasn't happened now, you question, like, is it ever going to happen? I'm certain guys, I'm sure, like, how much stronger is Jarrett Allen going to get at this point? I don't know. Probably not that much stronger. But, like, they got to pack on some muscle, because going back to the offense, and this goes for everyone, to a certain point, like, yes, they won the possession battle. They won the rebounding battle, blah, blah, blah. They did good in all those factors. You can't consistently get jammed up the way that the Cavs have gotten jammed up offensively. That's setting better screens. That's fighting off ball. It's all these different things that go into it. You got to get a little stronger. And Evan Mobley, he's about to be 24. I think he could still add on some weight. I think he's already grown in that department. Still has more room to grow, though. Darius Garland, I think, has room to grow. Again, Jarrett Allen, like, is it possible for him to pack on any more muscle at this point? Because it just seems like if it would have happened, like, they've been stressing this probably for the last 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, if it was going to happen, it probably should have happened already, but he should still be trying. Same thing with really Donovan's fine, but like, it's mainly Garland and Mobley. Got to see you guys get stronger.